You are listening to the Cricket Corner podcast with me, Vatsal Vora. So Australia have won their 6th World Cup title by beating India in the final in Ahmedabad by 6 wickets and crushing all Indian hearts around the world. Welcome back to the Cricket Corner podcast with a dejected and deflated and disheartened and heartbroken Vatsal Vora here. For a quick rundown of the final, it wasn't India's day from the very get-go, to be honest with you. From the moment Pat Cummins won the toss and elected to bowl first, it felt like this could be the end of India's brilliant run in the World Cup. Now, prior to the start of the final, the mood was so good. The whole country believed in their team. They had played some brilliant cricket throughout this World Cup, had won 10 matches in a row, 9 in the group stages, and beating New Zealand in the semi-final in a comprehensive fashion. But when it comes to the final, you have to be at the top of your game. And today, unfortunately for Team India, they weren't, and Australia completely blew the host out of the water at Ahmedabad. So, as I mentioned, Pat Cummins did win the toss and put India into bat, and India could only post a measly total of 240 in their quota of 50 overs. And signs of a defeat were there and there. It was a tricky pitch to bat on during the afternoon. The ball was gripping. There was swing early on in the innings for the likes of Mitchell Starc and Josh Hazlewood. But India came out of the block really quickly. And credit to Rohit Sharma once again for doing what he has done throughout this World Cup. And that is coming out to bat and opening the innings and going hard and going aggressive from the very get-go. And he did exactly that. 47 of just 31 deliveries, 4 fours and 3 sixes along the way. But when he was dismissed, the wheels completely fell off the Indian bandwagon, to be completely honest with you. When he was dismissed, India were 76 for 2 after 9.4 overs. And from that, it was a struggle for Team India's best batting team. But apparently when the conditions are not right, the conditions are not right, and even the best can struggle. These are no excuses by any stretch of imagination. Don't get me wrong. I think Australia bowled really well. They made sure that they took full advantage of the conditions that are in front of them. And I think they bowled really well to restrict India to just 240. The likes of Pat Cummins, Adam Zampa, Glenn Maxwell to an extent were excellent in those middle overs, which helped Australia restrict India to just 240 runs. Virat Kohli and KL Rahul did try to forge a partnership. They played a partnership of 67 runs of 109 deliveries, but it felt like the batting was a bit too difficult for these two great players who have had amazing World Cups in their own rights. But once the pitch started to turn and the spinners came into the game, I think it was more about India playing the conditions out, keeping wickets in hand and hoping for a flourish towards the end to post a relatively good total. But that could not happen. In the end, Virat Kohli did try his level best. He scored 54 of 63 deliveries, and KL Rahul hanged in there, 66 of 107 deliveries. He tried his level best, but I think it was a bit too much in the end for the likes of Surya Kumar Yadav and Ravindra Jadeja to post a decent total. There was a really bizarre thing that happened when India were batting, and that was between overs 10 and over number 50, so 40 overs, India could only score 4 boundaries, and that is it. I think the 4 boundaries came off the bats of Shreyas Iyer, KL Rahul, Surya Kumar Yadav, and probably Mohammad Siraj, if I'm not wrong. Oh no, I think it was Siraj, Shami, Surya Kumar Yadav and KL Rahul. These were the 4 boundaries that were scored. 4 boundaries scored in 240 deliveries. So shows how good Australia bowled on the given day. The I think the likes of Maxwell were able to exploit the conditions really, really well. Pat Cummins bowling 10 overs for just 34 runs and Adam Zampa bowling 10 overs for just 44 runs. Cummins picking up 2 wickets, and I think they helped India. They helped. How shall I put it? They helped India. They didn't help India. They helped Australia post and restrict India to a measly total in the end. But I think when it was a target of just 241, yes, the conditions were tricky when India were batting, but everyone knew for a fact that the conditions would improve drastically when Australia would come out to bat, because under the lights the pitch gets a little bit easier to bat on. There's always the dew factor hanging in the ground when you are playing in a stadium like Ahmedabad, and we have seen this happen in this World Cup. In the very first game where England played against New Zealand, England toiled to 282, and in the grand scheme of things, 282 on that day seemed like a really, really good total. But when Rachin Ravindra and Devon Convoy came out to bat and they chased down the target with relative ease, both openers getting centuries, and it was a similar situation, a similar story when Australia came out to bat. When they had a total of just 241 to chase down, and it was magnificent batting from Travis Head. Travis Head has had a great World Cup, and today he showed it in the final again. 137 of just 120 deliveries, 15 boundaries and 4 sixes along the way. Not to add the brilliant catch he took running back and diving and taking a blinder of a catch to dismiss Rohit Sharma of the bowling of Glenn Maxwell. That was the turning point, and after he took that amazing catch to dismiss Rohit Sharma, the writing was against the wall. India were chasing the game from that very moment, and it was just 9.4 overs. They chased the game, but I think that catch turned the game on his head, and no pun intended, but Travis Head then comes out to bat and gets a brilliant half century. Brilliant century, 137. He was partnered brilliantly by Manas Labuschagne, 58 of 110 deliveries, 4 boundaries along the way. The duo posting a partnership of 192, and that just took the game away from Team India. Team India did make a really, really good start for their defend of 241. They dismissed David Warner in the second over. They dismissed Mitchell Marsh in the fourth over, and Steve Smith at the end of 7 overs. By the time Steve Smith was dismissed, Australia were tottering at 47 for 3. But in the end, once Manas Labuschagne came out to bat following the dismissal of Steven Smith, I think his calmness took the pressure away from Travis Head, and he made sure he was playing the anchoring role, and Travis Head was playing the attacking role, and both of them complemented each other brilliantly. The left hand right hand combination obviously works, and it did wonders as far as the Australian side is concerned. And I think the way in which Manas Labuschagne was playing, he was defending the ball when it came to facing the likes of Bumrah, Shami, Jadeja and Kuldeep Yadav, and he was taking singles with nonchalant ease as well. It didn't feel like Manas Labuschagne was in any trouble whatsoever, and that allowed Travis Head to probably calm his nerves down so he could trust a partner, which he had at the non-strikers end or the strikers end depending on the situation. And I think that allowed him to play his natural game, which is to go out there, attack the opposition bowlers, and made sure that Australia could win their 6th World Cup title. There are so many stories surrounding both Head and Labuschagne heading into this World Cup, because I remember when the provisional squad was announced, Manas Labuschagne was not there in the provisional 16 or 17 man squad which Australia announced. Then Australia travel to South Africa and they play 5 one-day internationals before the World Cup, and Manas Labuschagne has one of the most outstanding series, and then there comes a decision whether you want Manas Labuschagne back into the squad, and Australia did go with Manas Labuschagne in the team, but then they made a really, really brave call in dropping one of the and out spinners, a genuine spinner in the form of Ashton Agar. They left him out of the squad and put Manas Labuschagne in. Now that was brave, because when you come to India to play not just the one-day international World Cup, but be it a T20 series or a test series or whatever, you always have to have good quality spinners in your squad, because regardless of the conditions, the spinners always matter. But Australia went ahead and decided to leave Ashton Agar back home, and then they pick Manas Labuschagne in the team, and then they trust the likes of Mitchell Marsh and Marcus Stoinis to give them overs. They trust their part-time spinners in the form of Glenn Maxwell and Travis Head himself to give them a few overs here and there. Manas Labuschagne himself can bowl a few off breaks if required. So they trusted their part-time spinners and all-rounders and gave them the task of being their fifth bowler. Now, fifth bowler, if you look at Team India, Ravindra Jadeja is an out-and-out fifth bowling option. But in Australia, as far as the Australian side is concerned, they had 4 outstanding bowlers, world-class bowlers in the form of Mitchell Starc, Josh Hazlewood, Pat Cummins and Adam Zampa. But that just gives you 40 overs. You need 50 overs in a one-day international. So what Australia did, and that was just mind-blowing to see, those 10 overs were distributed amongst the likes of Travis Head, amongst the likes of Glenn Maxwell, Marcus Stoinis, and even if you want Manas Labuschagne, depending on the team composition which you are playing in. And I think that is the reason why Australia could bat so deep. Glenn Maxwell coming in at number 7, even Pat Cummins and Mitchell Starc, number 8 and 9, could play their way out of the game. We saw that against South Africa in the semi-finals, didn't we? And even though, and then, yes, so Manas Labuschagne is in the team, Ashton Agar is left out, okay. But then what happens is Travis Head is injured. I think he injured his finger, didn't he, in South Africa? And now there are question marks surrounding his availability in the World Cup in India. Australia do have a chance of picking a spinner and replacing Travis Head from the team, but they say no, we are going to wait until Travis Head returns. And Travis Head did return, and when he did, he was just outstanding. He was magnificent, wasn't he, when he came out to bat? I don't remember the team against whom he was playing, but when he came out when he came back to full fitness, basically, he scores 100, and then that was his very first 100. I think that was against Pakistan, wasn't it? And he scores the 100 in his very first World Cup game, his first ever World Cup as well. And then he scores a magnificent 100 in the final to take Australia home. He becomes only the 3rd Australian player to score 100 in a World Cup final. I think Ricky Ponting famously did, or infamously did it against India in the 2003 World Cup in Johannesburg. And Adam Gilchrist played that blistering 149 knock against Sri Lanka in the 2007 World Cup final. And now the 2 legends of Australian cricket have been joined by Travis Head. And yeah, I think he deservedly got the man of the match, not only for scoring that 137 innings knock, but also taking that wonderful catch and to dismiss Rohit Sharma and inform Rohit Sharma, and that took the sail out of the Indian boat. Talking about fielding, I think the 2023 World Cup final between India and Australia should be remembered for the importance of ground fielding. Let's take an example of someone like David Warner. David Warner just scored 7 runs off 3 balls in the final. Yes, a very good, very, very poor score for as far as David Warner is concerned, and based on his lofty standards. Yes, don't get me wrong. But the way in which he fielded, he protected the boundaries so well. He was diving around, he was chasing the ball, and he made sure that he saves the runs on the field while fielding. I think he could have probably saved, and don't quote me on this, but I think he could have probably saved 11-12 runs in the outfield just by fielding. And that, in the grand scheme of things, that matters a lot. I think the way in which he fielded was more important than when he came out to bat. Yes, he scored just 7 runs, but the way in which he fielded and saved all those runs, I think that contribution should not be overlooked. Yes, in the final, when you see the scorecard in 10-12 years of time, you will see, well, David Warner didn't really contribute with the bat in the final, just scored 7 runs. But when you have seen the match live on television or in the stadium, we realize how important someone like David Warner was in the field. Adam Zampa was brilliant in the field as well. Manas Labuschagne is always great in the field. Manas Labuschagne great in the field, great in the bat as well. Outstanding overall performance with, as far as the Australian side is concerned. Their fielding was impeccable, batting outstanding, and their bowling was world class today. Let's go back to their bowling. Mitchell Starc picking up 3 wickets, outstanding with the new ball, as I mentioned. Got the all important wicket of Shubman Gill to start with, and then picking up the crucial wicket of KL Rahul and Mohammad Shami towards the end as well. Josh Hazlewood has been the pick of the bowlers as far as the Australian side is concerned throughout this World Cup. Yes, Adam Zampa did pick up 23 wickets in this World Cup, but for me personally, Josh Hazlewood has been the unsung hero, and I'll say that time and time again, because Josh Hazlewood doesn't get the recognition which he deserves. Yes, because he has been outstanding in this World Cup. He is bowled with an economy of less than 5 runs an over, and he's picked up 16 wickets in this World Cup as well. Yes, today he was expensive in his very first spell. I think Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli took him to pieces, and he was conceding at an economy rate of 8.5, 9 runs and over during his opening spell. But when he was given the ball again in the middle overs and towards the latter stages of the Indian innings, he showed his class once again, and he ended up with the figures of 10 overs, 2 for 60. I'm really thankful that skipper Pat Cummins gave him the ball and made sure he completed his quota of full 10 overs, which he has not done despite bowling really well, particularly in the semi-finals. He picked up 2 wickets, as I mentioned, the wickets of Ravindra Jadeja and Surya Kumar Yadav towards the end. I think those 2 wickets were really crucial, because it made sure Australia pulled a handbrake on the scoring, because if Ravindra Jadeja and Surya Kumar Yadav would have stayed on the crease, India could have realistically managed a total of somewhere in the region of 260, 280. But I think those 2 wickets from Josh Hazlewood were really important. Pat Cummins himself picking up 2 wickets. He picked up the wicket of Shreyas Iyer and that of Virat Kohli. Virat Kohli dragging one on to the stumps after completing his half century. So that was unfortunate, but Pat Cummins really bowled well, 2 for 34 from his quota of 10 overs. And as I mentioned early in this podcast, that 40 overs are bowled by genuine bowlers and the rest 10 overs are distributed amongst the others. The final was a perfect example of that. Starc bowling 10 overs, Hazlewood bowling 10, Cummins bowling 10, and Zampa bowling 10. So that is your quota of 40 overs. And the next 10 overs were distributed amongst Maxwell, Mitchell Marsh and Travis Head. Head and Marsh bowling 2 overs each, and Maxwell bowling 6 and picking up the all-important wicket of Rohit Sharma thanks to that brilliant catch taken by Travis Head. So congratulations to Team Australia. I think they thoroughly deserve this World Cup just solely by how good they have played in the semi-finals and in the final. They lost their opening 2 matches. One should not forget that. They lost their opening 2 matches against the teams that they beat in the semi-final and in the final. Yes, that's how brilliant this magical story works, doesn't it? They were defeated by India and in Chennai in their opening game. Then they lost to South Africa in the second game, 0 points out of their opening 2 matches. Then they go on and win 7 on the bounce, qualify for the semi-finals. Then they beat South Africa in the semi-final and India in the final. So one can realistically and rightly say that they have beaten all 9 teams in this World Cup and are deservedly world champions for a 6th time. They first won a World Cup in 87, then they won it in 99, 2003, and 2007, 2015, and now 2023. Before we round up this podcast, I want to give a huge shout out to Pat Cummins. I think Pat Cummins, when he retires and hangs up his bowling boots, I think he'll remember the year 2023 with some really fond memories. It all started with him leading his Australian side in the Border Gavaskar Trophy early on in February of 2023, coming to India for the Border Gavaskar Trophy, plays a couple of matches, goes back to Australia because for personal reasons. Then we find out that his mother has died, so he doesn't come back for the rest of the Indian tour. But then to pick yourself up from such lows and to lead the mighty Australia to not only the World Test Championship final victory over India, helping Australia retain the Ashes, and then winning the World Cup. I think hats off to Pat Cummins, and I think he has solidified his name as one of the great Australian captains. We have had so many good Australian captains in recent history. We had Michael Clarke winning in 2015, Aaron Finch helping Australia win the 2021 World T20 in the UAE, Ricky Ponting winning 2 World Cups in 2003, 2007, Alan Border helping Australia win the 1987 World Cup, Steve Waugh, 99 World Cup winner, Mark Taylor, another brilliant Australian captain. But I think Pat Cummins has solidified his name. He's right up there with all these Australian legends. And to do it as a fast bowler, playing all these matches, not being injured, it's credit to Pat Cummins and how well he has done. And I think his leadership has been impeccable, and I think the way in which he has carried himself and this Australian team, hats off. I think he has done a really, really good job. So yeah, once again, congratulations to Australia, deserved champions. Where do Team India go from now on? Well, that will be another episode. I'll have a few episodes rounding off the World Cup in the coming days, but this was a quick review of the final. Yes, hope you enjoyed the coverage of the Cricket World Cup on the Cricket Corner podcast, that is. Lot of cricket to come. There is obviously India versus Australia T20 series happening starting in a couple of weeks' time. There's obviously India's tour of South Africa from the 10th of December. I think they play 3 test matches over there, so that should be fun. England are traveling to the West Indies for a limited overs format tour as well, 3 one-dayers and 5 T20s. And Australia are going to take on Pakistan in a test series back home. So a lot of cricket happening. But for the time being, this is me, Vatsal Vora, signing off from the Cricket World Cup. Hope you enjoyed it. Once again, congratulations to Australia. And that is it. Yeah. Ciao for now.